They was interviewing Kirk Franklin one day, I believe on The View. And they asked him, what do you think the problem with churches today? And he said, the problem with church today is too many rules.
My Lord.
In church.
My Lord.
He said it shouldn't be all these rules. Just let the people worship God. Worship is centered around rules laid by God how he want to be worshipped.
In the book of Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 4.
You ever heard of no rules?
No rules.
A church with no rules is not a church.
That's right.
Listen.
Proverbs chapter 4
even
and
the
verse 4.
street got rules.
Oh yes.
If you ever was in a gang, every gang got rules.
Yeah.
To faith that we let religiosity lead the narrative of people's relationship with God, meaning that we set principles that were more cultural than they were bibliocentric. You know, whether it's like, makeup, or, how you dress, or what you say, or you can't do this, you can't do that. Like, we led with the narrative of what you can't.
Welcome back, family. Today, we're diving into a fiery debate that has stirred up conversations across the Christian community. Have you ever felt like the church has too many rules? Well, gospel artist Kirk Franklin thinks so. In an interview, he claimed that the church's problem today is having too many rules. His statement sent shockwaves, and Pastor Gino Jennings had a lot to say about it. Buckle up, because this is going to be a thought-provoking discussion. Let's set the stage. Kirk Franklin, a Grammy-winning gospel artist, is no stranger to controversy. Known for blending traditional gospel music with contemporary styles like hip-hop, R&B, and pop, Franklin's approach has been praised for its innovation but criticized for being too worldly. When asked about the issues facing the modern church, Franklin's response struck a chord with many, but not in the way he might have intended.
I believe that when it comes to faith, that we let religiosity lead the narrative of people's relationship with God, meaning that we set principles that were more cultural than they were bibliocentric. Whether it's like, makeup, or, how you dress, or what you say, or you can't do this, you can't do that. Like, we led with the narrative of what you can't do.
Pastor Gino Jennings didn't hold back. He emphasized that rules aren't the problem, misunderstanding their purpose is. Let's unpack this. The Bible is filled with commandments, guidelines, and principles. Why? Because our relationship with God is not just about feelings, it's about living in a way that honors him.
They was interviewing Kirk Franklin one day, I believe on The View. And they asked him, what do you think the problem with churches today? And he said, the problem with church today is too many rules.
My Lord.
In church.
My Lord.
He said it shouldn't be all these rules. Just let the people worship God. Worship is centered around rules laid by God how he want to be worshipped.
In the book of Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 4.
You ever heard of no rules?
No rules.
A church with no rules is not a church.
That's right.
Listen.
Proverbs chapter 4
even
and
the
verse 4.
street got rules.
Oh yes.
If you ever was in a gang, every gang got rules.
Yeah.
A crowd got rules. You don't believe me? Once that bouncer get a hold of you, you broke somebody's rule.
That's right.
Even a prostitute got rules. Pay first. Pay first. What are you talking?
That's right.
So they don't mind the street having rules, but this has crept in churches.
Oh, yes.
Where members and even preachers and so-called Christians are saying we should worship God with no rules. You ain't even the devil got rules.
That's right. Let us walk by the same rule.
Do you hear the Bible?
In the book of Philippians chapter 3 and verse 16.
Hear me, world, hear this.
Nevertheless, whereunto we have already attained.
Let
us walk by the same rule.
And do what?
Let us mind the same thing. That's right.
Think about it. Rules are everywhere in sports, schools, workplaces, even our homes. Imagine playing a basketball game with no rules. Chaos, right? Rules bring structure, discipline, and, ultimately, freedom. They're not about control, but about creating an environment where we can thrive. Similarly, the church's rules aren't random. They're designed to help us grow spiritually.
I came from the hood. Man, the hood had rules.
Oh, yeah.
When they use the term fair one, that means the old heads would get two young bloods and let them mix it up. Nobody was allowed to pull out no gun. Nobody was allowed to pull out no straight razor. Nobody was allowed to pull out any blade. The old heads, all right, y'all young bloods, come on, mix it up. We get out there and mix it up. And the old heads stood and watched. And make sure it was a fair one, meaning a fair fight.
That's right.
Nobody was taking out 38s and Glocks and all that stuff, turning to the side, shooting you. No.
That's right.
Best man won. When the fight was over, you went back playing ball.
Mm-hmm.
If you think you will serve the Lord as a so-called Christ-like man or woman with no rules, then the God of heaven you have never served and never will.
That's right.
In the days of old, he gave rules so strict they were called the Ten Commandments.
That's right.
Let's read this quickly, son.
That's right.
Moses was up on a mountain. And Moses was up there so long, Israel went up, they was playing and acting like a fool.
Yeah.
But God gave Moses a set of rules.
In the book of Exodus chapter 20, we'll start at verse 10.
Hear this.
But the seventh day is in the Sabbath of the Lord thy God.
Yeah.
In it thou shalt not do any work.
What?
In it thou shalt not do any work. Any work.
Thou
Shalt not do
shall not do
any work.
That means no natural work. When you observe the Sabbath in the days of old, you couldn't do no natural work, whether it was cut the grass, pluck ears of corn, milk the cow. You couldn't do no natural work at all.
That's right.
And we're going to show you the rules in the New Testament once you finish that in the 5th chapter of the book of Galatians.
Well, that's a horrible way to start a conversation. That's a horrible way to build a relationship, is that if I meet you, the first thing I do is I give you a list of what you can't do. But if I give you a list of your freedoms and everything that is written on the written with love ink, then we have a better opportunity to kind of get a great start. But what we did is that we passed on to the next generation a list of what they can't do.
Right.
This is wrong. This is wrong. And that's a hell of a way to start a relationship. And so that is a great mistake.
Now, I get where Kirk Franklin is coming from. Sometimes, churches do focus too much on the don'ts and forget to celebrate the joy of walking with Christ. But here's the thing, the do's and don'ts go hand in hand. They're both part of a balanced faith. God's commands aren't just about prohibition, they're about protection and provision. Another point Franklin made was that some church rules are cultural, not biblical. He's right. There's a difference between traditions rooted in scripture and man-made customs. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because some rules are cultural doesn't mean all rules are bad. Pastor Jennings took this further. He argued that Franklin's comments could lead to confusion and disrespect for the Bible. Jennings reminded us that worship isn't about doing whatever feels good. It's about honoring God the way He's instructed. Let's put this in perspective. Imagine walking into a courtroom and telling the judge, "I don't think there should be so many rules." You wouldn't last 5 minutes. Rules are there to uphold order and justice. The church is no different. What can we learn from all this? First, let's be careful not to confuse rules with restrictions. Rules rooted in love and scripture lead to freedom, not bondage. Second, let's remember that faith isn't just about following rules, it's about building a relationship with God. And finally, let's approach these discussions with grace and wisdom. Family, this conversation is just the beginning. What do you think? Are there too many rules in the church? Or are these guidelines essential for our spiritual growth? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, we're all on this journey together, striving to please God. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Until next time, stay blessed and keep walking in faith. See you soon.